The impossible discovery DR. Sarah-chan rubbed her tired eyes and stared at the monitor for the 100th time that day. The numbers dancing across the screen should have been impossible. After 3 sleepless days in the Mars research stations, underground laboratory, she was beginning to wonder if exhaustion was playing tricks on her mind. The antimatter containment field had been stable for 47 hours and counting. No human scientist had ever achieved containment for more than 12 minutes. Sarah's hands trembled as she double-checked the readings again. The magnetic field strength was perfect. The antimatter particles glowed like tiny trapped stars in the containment chamber, dancing in their prison of pure energy. "Yuki, are you seeing this?" Sarah called across the lab to her colleague. Dr. Yuki Tanaka looked up from her engineering console, her black hair falling across her face as she leaned forward to examine her own readings. "The field generators are operating at 98% efficiency," Yuki replied, her voice filled with disbelief. "Sarah, this should not be possible. The theoretical models all predicted cascade failure after 30 minutes maximum." The lab door hissed open, and Commander Marcus Torres stepped inside. The military liaison had been assigned to oversee the antimatter project 2 years ago, mostly because Earth's government wanted someone to blame if the scientists accidentally vaporized half of Mars. Marcus had dark skin, graying hair, and the kind of steady presence that made people feel safe, even when they were working with the most dangerous substance in the universe. "Ladies," I heard excited shouting from the hallway, Marcus said, setting down his coffee mug. "Please tell me you haven't discovered a new way to blow up the station." Sarah stood up so quickly that her chair rolled backward. "Marcus, we've actually done it. The antimatter has been contained for almost 2 days now." Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. He did not pretend to understand all the science, but he knew what this meant. For decades, humanity had been the galaxy's youngest and weakest species. While alien civilizations zipped between star systems in ships powered by exotic matter and quantum drives, humans struggled to reach their own outer planets with chemical rockets and fusion engines. "Show me," Marcus said simply. Sarah pulled up the containment data on the main display. The graph showed a steady, unbroken line representing the magnetic field strength over the past 47 hours. Below it, another line showed the antimatter particle count, rock steady and contained. "My God," Marcus whispered. "How much antimatter are we talking about?" "Enough to power a small city for a year," Yuki answered, "or propel a spacecraft to the nearest star system in months instead of centuries." Marcus picked up his secure communication device and dialed Director Patricia Walsh back on Earth. She answered on the first ring, probably because she had been waiting for news from the Mars project. "Director Walsh, this is Commander Torres. You need to hear this." 3 hours later, Director Walsh's image appeared on the lab's main screen via quantum communication link. She looked like she had been awakened from deep sleep, her usually perfect gray hair disheveled and her business suit wrinkled. "Dr. Chun," Director Walsh said, "I've reviewed your preliminary data. If these numbers are accurate, you've just changed the course of human history." Sarah nodded. "The implications are staggering. We could build spacecraft that would make our current technology look like stone tools. We could reach other galaxies, explore the universe in ways we never imagined. But first," Director Walsh said, her expression growing serious, "we need to understand what we're dealing with." "Have the alien observers been notified?" Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "The Zephyrian Scientific Station on Phobos has been monitoring our research. They probably already know something significant has happened." As if summoned by his words, the lab's communication system chimed with an incoming message. The screen flickered, showing the blue-scaled face of Krelther, the Zephyrian observer assigned to monitor human scientific progress. "Greetings, human researchers. Crowther said in his translator's mechanical voice. "We have detected unusual energy readings from your facility. Are you experiencing equipment malfunctions?" Sarah exchanged glances with her colleagues. The Zephyrians had been observing human development for 15 years, ever since Earth had been granted junior membership in the Galactic Scientific Council. Their attitude had always been one of bemused condescension, like adults watching children. "Play with toys. No malfunctions, Crowther," Sarah replied. "We've achieved stable antimatter containment." The alien's expression did not change, but his large eyes blinked twice in rapid succession. "Please repeat that statement." "The translation system may have malfunctioned. We have successfully contained antimatter particles for 47 hours. "And counting," Sarah said clearly. Crowther's scales rippled, a sign of agitation in his species. "That is impossible. Antimatter containment requires technology beyond your current capabilities. The Zephyrian Empire has been working on such systems for 3 centuries with limited success. Nevertheless," Yuki interjected, "here we are." The alien scientist stared at them for a long moment. "I will need to inspect your facility personally. Such claims require verification." "Of course," Director Walsh said from Earth. "We welcome scientific collaboration." After the communication ended, Marcus looked at his colleagues with concern. "I have a feeling we've just opened a very large can of worms." Over the next week, representatives from 7 different alien species arrived at the Mars Research Station. The Zephyrians came first, followed by the insectoid Kithara, the crystalline Vorthan, and 4 other species that Sarah had only read about in xenobiology textbooks. Dr. Veltar, the lead Zephyrian scientist, examined the antimatter containment system with obvious skepticism. Her scaled hands moved over the human equipment with practiced efficiency, taking readings and measurements. "Your containment field is crude," she announced after several hours of inspection. "The power consumption is inefficient. The magnetic field generators are primitive by galactic standards." "But it works," Sarah pointed out. "Yes," Veltar admitted reluctantly. "It works. This is unexpected." The Kithara representative, a being called ZZ Kate H, whose name sounded like buzzing insects, was more direct. "How did you achieve stable containment with such basic technology?" Sarah had been asking herself the same question. "We approached the problem differently than previous researchers. Instead of trying to create a perfect containment field, we built a system that could adapt to field fluctuations." "Adaptive systems are beyond your technological level," Skath stated flatly. "Apparently not," Marcus said with a slight smile. The week of inspections turned into a month of intensive study. Alien scientists swarmed over the research station, examining every aspect of the antimatter containment system. They ran their own tests, built their own measurement devices, and conducted experiments that Sarah did not fully understand. The results were always the same. The human antimatter containment system worked, and it worked better than anything the aliens had ever developed. "This changes everything," Dr. Veltar told Sarah during one of their private conversations. "The Galactic Council has assumed that humanity would remain a minor species for at least another 1,000 years. Your technological development has been slow and predictable." "Until now," Sarah said. "Until now," the alien agreed. "What do you plan to do with this technology?" Sarah considered the question carefully. "We plan to use it to explore the universe, to learn, to grow as a species. And if others try to stop you, then we'll have to show them that humans are not as helpless as they think." Meanwhile, in the secure communication room, Marcus was having a very different conversation with Director Walsh and the Earth Defense Council. "The alien response has been mixed," Marcus reported. "Some are genuinely excited about the scientific breakthrough. Others seem worried about the implications." "What kind of implications?" asked General Harrison Blake, the Earth Defense Force's chief strategist. Think about it, General. For the first time in human history, we have a technology that gives us an advantage over alien civilizations. We can build ships that are faster than theirs, weapons that are more powerful than theirs, or they can take our technology and use it against us, General Blake said grimly. That's why we need to move quickly, Director Walsh added. I'm authorizing the construction of the first antimatter-powered spacecraft. We need to demonstrate our capabilities before anyone decides to take them away from us. Back in the lab, Sarah and Yuki were working on scaling up their containment system. The test chamber had proven that the technology worked, but building a full-sized antimatter engine would require engineering miracles. Asterisk. The power requirements are enormous, Yuki said, reviewing the preliminary designs. We'll need to build new generators, new containment systems, new everything. Then we build them, Sarah said simply. Humanity has always been good at solving impossible problems. This time feels different, Yuki said. This time, the whole galaxy is watching. The breakthrough came 3 weeks later, not from the Mars research station, but from the Titan shipyards orbiting Saturn. The engineers there had been working around the clock to build the first antimatter engine, using Sarah's containment technology as their foundation. The engine was beautiful in its simplicity. A crystalline containment chamber surrounded by magnetic field generators connected to a propulsion system that could accelerate a spacecraft to unprecedented speeds. Commander Marcus Torres was chosen to pilot the first test flight. The ship was small, barely large enough for one person, but it represented humanity's first step into a new era. Are you ready, Marcus? Sarah asked over the communication link. Marcus sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady on the controls. As ready as anyone can be to fly on controlled explosions of antimatter. The containment field is stable. Yuki reported from the control room. All systems are green. Beginning engine startup, Marcus announced. The antimatter engine came to life with a soft hum that grew into a powerful roar. The ship's power displays showed energy levels that no human spacecraft had ever achieved. Power output is incredible, Marcus reported. I've never felt anything like this. When he engaged the drive, the ship shot forward with such acceleration that Marcus was pressed back into his seat. The stars outside became streaks of light as the ship reached speeds that made fusion drives look like toys. This is unbelievable, Marcus said over the radio. The response time is instant. The power is smooth and constant. In the control room, Sarah and Yuki watched their instruments in amazement. The antimatter engine performed even better than their computer models had predicted. We did it, Sarah whispered. We actually did it. The alien observers, who had been monitoring the test from their own ships, were no longer looking bored or condescending. They were frantically checking their instruments and speaking in urgent whispers. How are they generating that much power? One of them asked. It has to be an error, another replied. No young species has ever mastered antimatter technology on their first attempt, but it was no error. After 6 hours of testing, the antimatter engine was still running perfectly. The fuel had barely been consumed. At this rate, the ship could operate for months on a single fuel load. Marcus brought the ship back to the docking bay with a huge grin on his face. That was the best flight of my life, he told Sarah and Yuki. This engine is going to change everything. The alien observers gathered around Director Walsh's holographic image, their expressions ranging from amazement to concern. Director. Walsh, Dr. Veltar said carefully, we would like to discuss your antimatter research. Perhaps our species could collaborate on this technology. For the first time in human history, aliens were asking humans for help instead of the other way around. Director Walsh smiled. We'll consider it. But first, we have some ships to build. As the news of humanity's breakthrough spread throughout the galaxy, Sarah stood in the observation deck of the Mars Research Station and looked out at the stars. Soon, human ships would be traveling between those stars, faster than anyone had thought possible. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity was no longer the primitive species they had dismissed. The age of human antimatter technology had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. In the weeks that followed, reports began arriving from across the galaxy. The major alien powers were calling emergency sessions. Trade networks were being reevaluated. Military alliances were being questioned. "They're scared," Marcus told Sarah during one of their planning sessions. "For the first time since humans entered the galactic community, they're actually scared of us." "Good," Sarah replied. "Maybe now they'll treat us as equals instead of children." But deep down, Sarah knew that the real test was still coming. Humanity had proven they could master antimatter technology. Now they would have to prove they could handle the consequences of that mastery. The galaxy was watching, and the future of human civilization hung in the balance. The day everything changed, Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the U.S. Prometheus, humanity's first antimatter-powered warship. 6 months had passed since Dr. Sarah Chun's breakthrough on Mars, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Through the massive viewport, Elena could see the other ships of the human antimatter fleet spread out in formation around them. The U.S. Defiant, the U.S. Intrepid, the U.S. Sovereign, and 3 other vessels, each one powered by the impossible technology that had transformed humanity from galactic footnote to major power. "Admiral," called Captain Ryan Mitchell from his position at the tactical station, "we're receiving multiple communications from the alien fleet. They're requesting immediate dialogue." Elena nodded grimly. "How many ships are we facing, Captain?" "Long-range sensors show 1,300 vessels from 12 different species," Ryan replied. "The Zephyrian Empire contributed 400 ships. The Cathara Collective sent 300. The Vorthan Confederation brought 200. The rest are from smaller powers." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. In the 6 months since the antimatter breakthrough, humanity had built 7 warships. They now faced an armada nearly 200 times their size. Their positioning themselves around the entire Sol system, reported Lieutenant Commander Janet Foster from the navigation station. "It's a complete blockade." The situation had escalated rapidly after the Galactic Council's initial demand for technology sharing. When Earth had politely declined to hand over antimatter containment technology to every species in the galaxy, the response had been swift and decisive. "Ma'am," said Communications Officer David Park, "we're receiving a transmission from the Charm Galactic Council flagship. It's Council Speaker Thexon." "Put it through." The main viewer flickered to life, showing the imposing figure of Thexon, the Vorthan leader who had guided the Galactic Council for over 2 centuries. His crystalline features reflected the light of nearby stars, and his voice carried the authority of someone who had never been challenged. "Admiral Vasquez," Thexon said, his translated voice echoing through the bridge. "I speak for the combined forces of the Galactic Council. Your species has developed technology that threatens the stability of our carefully maintained galactic order." Elena stepped forward, her uniform crisp and her bearing proud. "Speaker Thexon, humanity has developed antimatter technology through our own research and ingenuity. We have threatened no one. The very existence of your technology threatens everyone," Thexon replied. "Antimatter weapons could devastate entire star systems. Such power cannot be allowed to remain in the hands of a single species, especially one as young and unpredictable as humanity." "Young and unpredictable?" Elena felt her temper rising. "We've been members of the galactic community for 20 years. We've honored every treaty, respected every agreement, and contributed to every scientific endeavor we've been allowed to participate in. Allowed to participate in, Vexon repeated. Yes, we have been generous with our junior members. But generosity has limits. Captain Mitchell moved to Elena's side. Admiral, the alien fleet is powering up weapon systems. They're preparing for combat. Elena looked at the tactical display, showing the massive alien armada. Every instinct told her to retreat, to find a way to avoid the coming conflict. But then she thought about Earth, about the billions of humans who depended on her fleet for protection. Speaker Vexon, Elena said calmly, you have surrounded our home system with the largest fleet in galactic history. You demand that we surrender our greatest technological achievement. What exactly are you offering in return? We offer you the chance to remain a member of the galactic community, Vexon replied. Refuse, and humanity will face complete isolation. Your ships will be barred from all galactic territories. Your trade agreements will be terminated. Your people will be confined to this single star system for the rest of their existence. A bridge fell silent. Elena could hear the soft hum of the antimatter engines and the quiet beeping of various consoles. Her crew was looking at her, waiting for her decision. And if we refuse isolation? Elena asked. Then this armada will enforce the Council's will. Vexon said coldly, your 7 ships cannot stand against our combined might. Elena smiled slightly. 7 ships. Is that what your intelligence reports tell you? For the first time, Vexon's crystalline features showed uncertainty. How many ships do you possess? Enough, Elena replied. Captain Mitchell, please signal. The reserve fleet. Ryan's fingers danced across his console. Within moments, the space around the human antimatter fleet began to shimmer and distort. New ships materialized out of hyperspace, their sleek hulls gleaming with the distinctive blue glow of antimatter drives. The UES Thunderbolt, the UES Lightning, the UES Tempest, and 12 other vessels took positions alongside the original 7. Ships. Each ship was larger than the first antimatter vessels, designed specifically for combat operations. 19 ships, Elena announced. Each one powered by stable antimatter technology that your combined civilizations have been trying to develop for centuries. The alien fleet's communications channels erupted with chatter. Elena could hear fragments of conversations in dozens of languages as the various species tried to understand what they were seeing. Impossible, Vexon said. Our intelligence indicated that humanity possessed only 7 antimatter vessels. Your intelligence was 6 months out of date, Elena replied. We've been busy. Dr. Sarah Chon's voice came over the communication system from the research station on Mars. Admiral, this is Dr. Chon. The new antimatter engines are performing perfectly. All ships are ready for combat operations. Elena nodded. Thank you. Doctor, your breakthrough has given us the tools we need to defend ourselves. Admiral, Captain Mitchell said quietly, the alien fleet is repositioning. They're forming attack formations. Elena studied the tactical display. The alien ships were impressive by any standard, but they were designed for conventional warfare against opponents with similar technology. The human antimatter fleet represented something entirely new. Captain, prepare to demonstrate our capabilities, Elena ordered. Select a target away from populated areas. There's an asteroid field about 10 million kilometers from here, Ryan reported. Large asteroid, about 50 kilometers in diameter. Perfect. Signal the U's Defiant to engage. The Defiant broke away from the human formation and accelerated toward the asteroid field. Its antimatter drive pushed it to speeds that made the alien ships look like they were standing still. Antimatter torpedo armed and ready, came the report. From the Defiant's weapons officer, fire when ready. The torpedo streaked across space, its antimatter warhead contained in a magnetic field until impact. When it struck the asteroid, the explosion was visible from millions of kilometers away. The 50-kilometer rock simply ceased to exist, vaporized in a flash of pure energy. The alien fleet's communications channels fell silent. That asteroid, Elena announced calmly, weighed approximately 10 billion tons. The antimatter torpedo that destroyed it contained less than 1 gram of antimatter. Each of our ships carries a full arsenal of such weapons. Dexon's image flickered on the screen. The alien leader's crystalline features had shifted to a darker hue, indicating stress or fear. Admiral, such weapons are beyond the scope of civilized warfare. Are they? Elena asked. Or are they simply beyond the scope of your current technology? You would threaten the entire galaxy with such power? We threaten no one, Elena replied. Firmly, we seek only to defend ourselves and our right to exist as a free species. But we will not surrender our technology to those who would use it against us. Captain Mitchell stepped forward. Admiral, we're receiving new communications from several ships in the alien fleet. Some of them are requesting private channels. Elena raised an eyebrow. Put them through. The first communication came from Admiral Kreshta of the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Vasquez, I wish to speak with you privately. There are matters to discuss that do not involve the Galactic Council. I'm listening, Admiral. The Zephyrian Empire has no desire for conflict with humanity. Your antimatter technology is impressive, but we are more interested in the possibilities for cooperation than the dangers of war. Elena felt a spark of hope. What kind of cooperation? Trade agreements, technology exchanges, joint exploration, missions. The galaxy is vast, and there is room for all species to prosper. Over the next hour, Elena received similar communications from representatives of 6 different alien species. The massive fleet that had come to intimidate humanity was beginning to fracture as individual civilizations reconsidered their positions. It seems, Elena said to Captain Mitchell, that the galaxy is not as united as Speaker Thexon would have us believe. Admiral, Communications Officer Park announced, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It's General Harrison Blake. The image of the gruff military commander appeared on a secondary screen. Admiral Vasquez, I've been monitoring your situation. Earth's government has authorized me to give you full operational authority. Whatever you decide out there, you have our complete support. Elena nodded. Thank you, General. We're doing our best to avoid a war. Sometimes the best way to avoid a war is to be prepared to fight one, Blake replied. The antimatter fleet is humanity's insurance policy. Use it wisely. As the hours passed, the alien blockade began to dissolve. Ships from various species broke away from the main fleet, some returning to their home systems, others requesting permission to establish diplomatic communications with Earth. The Kithara Collective was the first to formally withdraw from the Council's ultimatum. We see no benefit in continued conflict, their representative announced. The collective would prefer to negotiate bilateral agreements with humanity. The Vorthan Confederation held out longer, but eventually even they began to question the wisdom of threatening a species that had demonstrated such technological superiority. By the end of the day, only 300 ships remained in the alien fleet, mostly from species that were completely dependent on the Galactic Council for their political identity. Speaker Thexon, Elena said during their final communication, your alliance appears to be crumbling. Are you prepared to discuss reasonable terms for coexistence? The Vorthan leader's crystalline features had darkened significantly. This is not over, Admiral. The Galactic Council will not tolerate this challenge to our authority. The Galactic Council is welcome to try, Elena replied. But understand this. Humanity is no longer the junior species you once dismissed. We have proven that we can defend ourselves, and we have proven that we can be valuable allies to those who treat us with respect. As the remaining alien ships began their withdrawal from the Sol system, Eleni felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. They had avoided a devastating war, but the political landscape of the galaxy had changed forever. "Captain Mitchell," she said, "signal the fleet. We're heading home." "Yes, ma'am." "All ships, prepare for return to Earth orbit." As the human antimatter fleet began its journey back to Earth, Elena stood at the viewport and watched the stars. In the distance, she could see the blue glow of Earth, the world that had given birth to a species, now capable of standing among the greatest powers in the galaxy. Dr. Sarah Chun's voice came over the communication system one final time. "Admiral, this is Dr. Chun. The antimatter containment systems performed flawlessly throughout the operation. We're ready to begin production of the next generation of ships." Elena smiled. "Thank you, Doctor. I have a feeling we're going to need them." A galaxy had learned a valuable lesson that day. Humanity was no longer content to be treated as a minor species. They had the technology, the determination, and the courage to claim their place among the stars. The age of human expansion had begun, and the universe would never be the same. In the weeks that followed, the political ramifications of the Sol system confrontation rippled throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Council found itself facing the first serious challenge to its authority in over a millennium. Individual species began to question whether the Council's policies truly served their interests. Elena Vasquez was promoted to Grand Admiral and given command of the expanding human space force. The antimatter fleet grew from 19 ships to over 100 within a year, each one a testament to human ingenuity and determination. But perhaps the most significant change was in how humanity saw itself. No longer the galaxy's youngest and weakest species, humans began to explore the universe with confidence and purpose. They established colonies in distant star systems, formed alliances with like-minded species, and contributed to galactic civilization as equals rather than junior partners. The breakthrough that had started in Dr. Sarah Chun's laboratory on Mars had become something far greater than anyone had imagined. It had become humanity's declaration of independence from a galaxy that had tried to keep them small and powerless. As Admiral Elena Vasquez often said in her speeches to the human Space Force, "We are no longer content to watch from the sidelines. We are here, we are strong, and we are ready to help build a better galaxy for all species." The stars were calling, and humanity was ready to answer. Asterisk,